It seems that every year more money is being spent on public education. And yet despite this, education standards continue to slip. So why are our schools producing these graduates of substandard intelligence? In answering this question, many people have asked why the government doesn't do more to improve education. But hold on a second. Have you ever stopped to ask why our schools are controlled by the government? What business does the state have in controlling the education of our kids? Is there any alternative? Before we answer these questions, we need to become familiar with the term monopoly. A monopoly is one group who has exclusive control over a facet of society. A monopoly can sometimes occur in the private sector, where one company has become so large that there are no competitors. Monopolies can also occur in government, in an area where the state has assumed exclusive control, like in the Soviet Union. A public school system is a monopoly, where the only competitors are private schools, most too expensive for regular citizens. If we want to know why our public schools are so mediocre, it's because they enjoy a monopoly, with no competitors around to come and steal away customers. Public schools are not accountable to parents, but only to the government. To ensure a healthy democracy, a country needs a populace constantly questioning authority. Dissent ensures innovation and should be encouraged. It is the key to progress. However, in a public school system where the government has direct access to shaping the minds of our children, how likely is it to be taught to always question the government? Each generation produced by the public school system contributes further to the fostering of a people who serve the government instead of the other way around. As you can see, in a system where a monopoly controls the input of information to the young minds of a nation, the potential for abuse of that power is enormous. Public education claims to be a system of equality. What they don't mention is that the only way to achieve this equality is an across-the-board lowering of standards. Students who are truly gifted or who work exceptionally hard are not given the opportunity to reach their full potential. In reality, it is a system of conformity, not equality. Every student has to be taught the same lesson content in the same manner. We are always trying to influence the education system, trying to change how it is run or what is taught. The result of this is a system that is forever changing and always in flux. Children of all minorities become subject to the prevailing attitudes of the majority at that time. We are told that public schools are the protectors of diversity in society because they bring together so many different cultures under the one system. But how diverse can we expect a society to be if all our children are taught the same thing, the same way? To ensure that no religion or minority is offended, schools teach subjects like history in a factual manner, ignoring the deep-rooted causes of past events and glossing over the lessons to be taken from them. But such lessons are what is important in history. Why bother learning the key dates of Hitler's rise to power if we don't teach children why? Why an entire country cheered a man at every step that he took towards totalitarianism? We must ask the question, is it in the government's interest to have an intelligent, free-thinking society? Do they want a populace of potential reformers, each with their own ideas on how to improve the status quo? What would happen if citizens started to offer solutions that didn't involve the expansion of government or further taxation? Further, a public school system encourages blind obedience to authority. A child's own judgment is ceded to that of the teacher, and this also has the consequence of severely undermining parental authority. This can be a big issue for religious parents who are frustrated that the issues they consider to be central to life are ignored. But this principle applies for any issue, not just religious ones. As a result of public schooling, telling a child about sex is no longer a matter for your family to decide, but for the government. They determine what is important to know and when it should be taught. Should we be concerned about a society that encourages something as important as sex to be taught by someone out of reach of the parents, essentially a complete stranger? But why are the teachers educating these kids not accountable to parents? Well, this is the result of another monopoly, a teachers' union monopoly. Teachers' unions stress that all teachers are to be treated equally. The result of this is that incompetence is tolerated and brilliance goes without reward. Under such a monopoly, what incentive is there for teachers to try harder? So why do we tolerate monopolies like government schools or teachers' unions? After all, we wouldn't tolerate a monopoly in other areas of our lives. What if the government established a monopoly over the clothing or mobile phone industries in your country? The uproar would be enormous. We demand choice, alternatives. After all, competition in a free market has consistently fostered great variety, performance and prices, unlike the poor service, overpricing and limited choice that are typical in monopolies. Competition in the market of mobile phones has produced a huge range of variety and affordability in their products, and I'm sure most people would agree that ensuring the best education for our children is much more important than mobile phones. So why are we so hostile to private education? Imagine a society that has a broad range of private schools. Some of these schools might teach their kids primarily based on religious instruction. Other schools may use New Age techniques to teach children, and others further might employ harsh discipline techniques to ensure that students are well behaved. If you think one of these schools is horrible, that's fine, because choice has now been returned to parents, so you don't need to send your children there. You are no longer confined to public school districts and curriculums, and you can send your children wherever you like. And if some of these schools are really horrible, or if they employ incompetent teachers, then these schools will close down, because no parents will want to send their children there. In this way, schools will strive for the best standards possible. Choice fosters excellence. You may not like that your country's children are being taught values different to your own, but that does not give you the right to impose your values onto those children, contrary to the wishes of their parents. You may not like that education is no longer paid for by taxes, but that does not give you the right to take taxes from other people who may not want to have kids to fund your own children's education. If you're concerned about cost, think of all the extra money saved over a lifetime no longer paying taxes for education, or the revenue that will be raised from the sale of public school grounds. Now, you might be saying, but what about parents who don't care about their kids? It's true that some poorer families often have 5 or more kids, knowing that they can rely on other people's taxes to provide them with free babysitting at public schools. It's a good point. We do need a system that encourages parental responsibility in their children's education. However, you will not find this in a public school system. Public schools relinquish that responsibility away from parents and to the state. Why be proactive in your child's education when the government will do it for you? Stop selling our kids short. Give them the opportunities that they deserve. Life is difficult enough as it is, and so many children are handicapped from the moment that they start state schooling.